The Glazers, Boehly and Levy have made enemies among the fans of their own clubs. The Premier League is also a bit of a Saudi league, because without foreign stars, the level of the championship would be much lower. English football players are talented, but rarely have a champion character. Spaniards, Belgians, Brazilians and a tall Norwegian are needed, so that the Premier League carries the banner of the richest and most powerful in the world. Here are just a lot of clubs in the hands of dubious people, which is well shown by the recent actions of the owners. If the football ratings of Manchester United or Chelsea can still change for the better after a pause for the matches of the national teams, then the ratings of the bosses can be set now. 7th place, John Henry Liverpool. Liverpool in 2023 is the third budget club in the world, but not the third in the football sense. For an American, the Reds are just business. Henry does not understand European football. He has never been interested in it. In the summer, grandfather had one task to find a new owner for Liverpool, but the American failed. We decided not to give away a profitable asset after not qualifying for the Champions League. Without the trio of Klopp, Gordon, the American warden, and Edwards, the former sporting director, it turned out that Liverpool had a lot of unresolved problems, precisely because of the head. Henry doesn't have a strategy to compete with Manchester City in the Premier League. The American is also not ready for the departure of Salah, although Mohammed can still be taken to Saudi Arabia. Klopp and the player want to work together, but Henry will accept £200 million for the 31-year-old, no doubt about that. 6th place, Guangcheng Wolves. The Chinese owner of the Wolves carried out the installation of the party. They looked for connections in Europe, buying up companies and appeasing local residents with investments in football clubs. But the Chinese did not create. They did not have a football strategy. With money you can move up to the Premier League, which Wolverhampton did. And then Guangcheng showed a complete lack of taste in football. The Chinese has long been friends with agent Mendes, who made money on Wolverhampton, turning him into a Portuguese club. Even when this time has passed and the composition has become more diverse, the Wolves do not have strong management. If they fly to the Championship, the project may be closed. 5th place, Stan Kroenke Arsenal. They fought for the Championship in the Premier League, but not thanks to Kroenke, but in spite of his long-term policy of withdrawing money from Arsenal. Trusting Arteta is a situational story that will end if the new season is not as successful as the previous one. But the fact that the Gunners have not been in the Champions League for many years speaks of the level of Kroenke's manager. Arsenal were unlucky with the owner. Stan accidentally met the heiress of billions, so he got rich. But as a manager, Kroenke is weak, as evidenced by the Gunners' many decisions, from buying Nicola's Pepe to dragging out Wenger. 4th place, Farhad Moshiri Everton. Moshiri urged US investment funds to enter the club last year, but doesn't want to lose control. Thought about selling 25% of the shares, but when the bigwigs from New York studied the accounts of Tafi, they changed their minds. Moshiri spent a lot of money through Everton. A little earlier, the club also had funds from the Russian billionaire Usmanov. But the toffee has not had order since the last century. If Everton are relegated, no one will be surprised, although they are one of the richest clubs in the world in 19th place in this year's rankings. 3rd place, Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy Tottenham. What happens if nerds want to be gangsters? Two investment bankers of different generations are accustomed to cunning tricks. Therefore, Joe Lewis will now be tried for insider trading. British billionaire at 86 will put pressure on dementia. He told everyone, right down to private jet pilots, friends and lovers, the secrets of the New York Stock Exchange. The owner of Tottenham has many small shares in well-known companies. He knew insiders in advance, and made money on it for 8 years. These are very serious violations. But in football, Lewis is even worse than on the stock exchange, as well as Levy, who gave Kane to Bayern with fights. This transfer was delayed by several years. The Spurs were also lucky to have manager Postecoglou on board, but as the experience of Mourinho and Conte shows, the owners of the club will eventually prevent the mentor from working calmly. Tottenham will again hang between success and failure. 2nd place, Todd Boehly and investors Chelsea. Boehly is rushing into 1st place. After all, after spending billions in transfers, the American has received a slow and unbalanced new team with dozens of newcomers. Also, Todd does not understand coaches. Perhaps even Nagelsmann, with his youth and audacity, would have suited Chelsea better than Pochettino, who with Tottenham, could not get ahead of Leicester in the Premier League. Chelsea is still painful to watch. The aristocrats are jokingly called the DiCaprio Club, because Boehly signs only players under 25 years old. This is usually the maximum age for a Hollywood actor's girlfriends. Boehly is wrong about everything: overpayments, choosing coaches, trying to get around the financial rules through tricks, because they conclude 7-year contracts. And what will happen to Chelsea if they don't fix the game? the newcomers fall in price by 5 times, and UEFA excommunicate them from European competitions. First place, the Glazer family. Manchester United. Chelsea had a period of Premier League and Champions League victories before Boehly, so young Blues fans remember the glory days, and Manchester United fans forgot about them. Even the victorious final of the Europa League is now an unattainable pleasure. Although such a cup will not inspire, Sevilla has a whole collection, which does not prevent them from losing and going bankrupt. Let's see what happens to Manchester United. In the meantime, a whole year watch the inadequacy of the Glazers. A family from the USA does not understand football, so the Devils have not been Champions League favorites, and not Premier League champions for many years. They spend a lot of money, and the result is sad. The Glazers were asking for £10 billion for the club, so all the buyers twiddled their thumbs over the summer. Even Chelsea sold for £2.5 billion, and the rest of the money is a liability of Boehly. The Glazers remain, which means that Manchester United have a lot of defeats ahead on different fronts.